All right, very good afternoon to all of you. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all our new students who have joined the Jindal School of Art and Architecture in both the Bachelor of Architecture program as well as the, it's called the Planning, the Built Environment program. It's a very special day for us, so I would like to first extend a warm welcome to all the new students to the university, also the returning students. We have developed a healthy tradition at our university to essentially start the beginning of the academic session with a commencement lecture. So let me take this moment to welcome Mr. Aman Nath, the founder and chairman of Neemrana Hotels, whose organization and himself does not need much of an introduction for all of us. He has kindly consented to be here and to deliver the commencement lecture on a theme which is called Waste to Value Engaging Architecture. I also want to take this moment to welcome all the faculty members of the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, and indeed thank the leadership of Dean Thomas McCall, as well as the Vice Dean Jaydeep, and indeed faculty members who are part of this institution. For the new students who are here, I want to say that our decision to set up the School of Art and Architecture was a natural evolution as an institution. We started as an institution in the year 2009, and the last 10 years has been a phenomenal journey in which we have built 7 other schools, including the School of Business, the School of International Affairs, a School of Government and Public Policy, a School of Liberal Arts, a School of Journalism, a School of Banking and Finance, and culminating in the School of Art and Architecture. So what I hope that you will do as you discover the campus and the institution is to make the best use of the broader opportunities that are available for each one of you, and to not confine yourself to the study of architecture in your PArch and the Built Environment program. So there are many things that could be said about this institution, but I'll identify 5 characteristic features that I believe would be of great interest to each one of you. First is that our strength is our faculty. And so if you start looking at each one of our faculty, not only in the School of Art and Architecture, but also other schools, you can have a sense of what the university is and how it has evolved in the last decade. Our faculty members are outstanding individuals who have made significant contributions in teaching and research. Each one of them have made a substantial impact in the fields in which they have worked. Great institutions are built around the faculty, and that's exactly what the School of Art and Architecture is. The second is our strong commitment to interdisciplinarity. Unlike a standalone architecture school, which some of you might be familiar with, I wouldn't name any of them, we are part of a larger institutional vision. And that means that as high school leavers, all of you have just completed your 12th standard, you have an opportunity to engage with other schools. And I sincerely hope you do. Every day after 4 p.m., the university offers over 175 to 200 courses which are cross-registered and available for cross-listing for students of the art and architecture. And you can actually take those courses. You can reach out to your Vice Dean and he'll be able to guide you as to how you can make this opportunity help you to study beyond architecture. There are schools such as the law and the business and the international affairs and the public policy school, which are very obvious choices that somebody who's pursuing architecture and built environment can actually pursue. That's the second important characteristic. The third is our strong commitment to internationalization. Global is our middle name in our university, but beyond that, we are very deeply committed to providing opportunities for our students around the world. Every year, over 400 Jindal students go abroad for various opportunities in summer and winter. These are programs ranging from short-term study abroad program to student exchange programs to dual degree programs. The architecture school has also begun to offer some of these opportunities, and please engage with your faculty. In the next several months and years, there will be more opportunities that will be made available for the School of Art and Architecture. These opportunities are in some of the most leading institutions. Every year, 35 of our students go to Harvard, another 35 go to Columbia, over 110 go to Oxford, and also 25 go to UC Berkeley, and around 25 go to Fletcher at Tufts University, and over nearly 200 others go to many parts of Western Europe, North America, Canada, also Asia and Australia. These opportunities are meant for our students to engage with some of the leading institutions around the world. This can happen not only in the summer and winter terms, but also possibly in your semester itself. That's our third unique characteristics. In addition to that, the university itself has a very strong commitment to internationalization. Nearly 17% of our full-time faculty members are non-Indian nationals recruited from over 32 different countries and regions in the world. Our other faculty members, including people like me and Jaideep and Professor Murthy and our Dean of our Public Policy School, Professor Sudarshan, are those individuals who have studied in India, studied abroad, worked abroad, and have returned to India. So there is a very strong international commitment that the institution has fostered over the years, and the School of Art and Architecture is no exception. I hope you will make the best use of it. The fourth is our very strong commitment to public service. We believe that as a private university, we are deeply committed to public service, and this public service is demonstrated by a number of things, including our scholarships that are made accessible for students who simply can't afford to study here. Also our deeper commitment to sustainability, and that's actually reflected in what the architecture school is doing. In fact, today's commencement speaker, I believe, will also speak about that issue. And the fifth is what we do towards executive education. I want to say that you are in some ways privileged because you are part of an institution that has simply emerged in the last decade, and it simply didn't exist. I was talking to some students early this day when I said that just imagine you are, think about architecture and space and how it defines and even changes society. Just a decade ago, if somebody had told that Sonipat is going to be the place where a number of people from Iceland and Romania and Bulgaria, let alone from the United States and Canada, and 30 others will make it their home and will be living here. Just imagine if that was mentioned a decade ago, would anybody believe it? And that's what spaces can do to impacting society and seeking change. Architecture has a very important dimension to how it can impact space. This university was essentially drawn out by a French architect by name Stéphane Pommier, and so many things that have evolved in this area has really shaped the livelihood of people around this society. And that's again a big challenge that architects will have for the future, is that how do you, let's say, envisage the future of cities, future of towns in a country which is so rapidly expanding, when our zeal and energy and aspiration to grow is not necessarily matching with the kind of spaces that are available, and how do you even create sustainability surrounding the spaces that we are building. These are huge questions that architects will answer, and you need to have very strong commitment to expressing your abilities, but also your knowledge and perspectives, not only confined to the discipline of architecture, but also other disciplines, including sociology, economics, and at times political science and even ethics. So in a way, I hope that you as students of architecture not only look at your discipline from the standpoint of having skill sets to learn, but also to be able to think and to become leaders in determining the future of our country and the world at large. In that sense, architects have a very big responsibility. Of course, the larger challenge in India continues to be how do we balance the need and demands of a large country, including need for building dwelling spaces for people on the one hand, and how do you also make it sustainable. So dogmatic responses from the political left and the political right is not going to help us address these issues. You need to have a more rigorous and a more engaged thinking as to how you will fashion a new response, a response that only people with, let's say, abilities to speak truth to power on the one hand, but also to be able to understand how societies have evolved and how actions in the form of decisions that are taken regarding how we use land has impacted society and changed societies, sometimes for the better and sometimes not so for the good. So with those words, I want to really extend a warm welcome to our university. This year was very special since you're first year students. Let me share with you that just a few weeks ago, OP Jindal Global University was recognized among the top 800 universities in the world. There are 28,000 universities in the world, of which only 1,000 get ranked by the QS rankings. There are 1,000 universities in India, and we ended up being ranked as top 800. There are only 24 Indian universities which ended up being recognized as the top in the top 1,000. That was a big achievement for us. Because we are also the youngest university in India and the youngest university in the world to feature in the world rankings. A week later, QS released what is known as the QS Young University Rankings, in which they recognize only universities which are under 50 years old. And very dramatically, OP Jindal Global University became one of the top 150 universities in the world, quite unprecedented. There are only 2 other universities in that list from India. That includes IIT Guwahati and the Anna University in Chennai. Both of them are engineering colleges. Again, we are the first and only private university among the 3 which ended up being recognized as top 150 in the world. I mention this to make you understand that be conscious of the fact that you are not in a standalone architecture school. You are part of a larger university, and make the best use of it. Thank you very much.
Okay, welcome back, students. Seems like just 2 days ago we were having some pizzas here. What I want to do is point out some of the aspirations that people inside and outside the university have for the school, and particularly for your education. We are here to design futures, and particularly the future of India. It's a contested space, and it needs a lot of insight. The way we will accomplish that is through something I call architectural intelligence, discrete bodies of knowledge, practices, technologies, used and mobilized to accomplish a greater variety of means than the standard free-floating object building. We want to use architectural intelligence and develop new systems of understanding, new ways of feeling and being in the world, and do that in interaction with other knowledge systems. We've always intended for this program and these programs to be interdisciplinary in scope and ambition. That is to say that we expect other knowledge systems to be informing your personal growth and development as a designer and as an intellectual. That means the most important skill you can have, not math, curiosity. And it's very important for you to be able to cultivate curiosity, because that is what will carry you through the next 60+ years of your career. You've heard our ambitions for global impact. Almost everyone that will be teaching with you has practiced or been educated internationally, and many of you will also have that experience too within this program. And we want to approach architectural intelligence by using research, formal and informal research, to inform design, to inform pedagogy, to inform questioning, and to inform decision-making processes. Today we're obsessed with increasingly discussions about economies, but actually the more important area to look at is in ecologies, to look at the new ecologies that are emerging, and our recognition that everything we design and everything we do in the built environment is operating in some dynamic relation systematically with other systems. So we have to be able to understand acupunctural thinking and how to transform things through minimalism and through very discrete practices, many of which will come from outside the discipline of architecture and design too. So our curiosity will allow us to operate at a variety of scales simultaneously, we hope, both at the scale of the kitchen and the scale of the city. Within that prospect, we need to keep in mind that architecture is a social art. It's always been called that. And that means we are clearly committed to understanding social justice. That's a very strong impetus here across the university and all of the different schools that I've seen. And even if the faculties don't always teach it, the students are constantly demanding it. We want to look at sustainable practices and maybe avoid the word and look at what's more effective, whether they're high-tech, low-tech, or no-tech, looking at indigenous practices and looking at some of the most advanced nanotechnology and how those can contribute to thinking about the built environment. Not just in terms of repair cultures, but in ways to ennoble the human spirit. Nowadays, people will talk about human-centered design, and I think that's a fundamental way to think about the design studio, which is the locus for our production of knowledge. I have a friend, Gavin Keeney, who told me, he said, architecture without critique is just real estate. And so we are not a real estate school. We are a school that will teach people to interrogate, to question, and to question again. And those of you coming into the program, the second years I see here will know this. Questions will be responded not with answers, but with more questions. In first year, it will be traumatic, but you'll get used to it. And then by second year, you'll start to like it, right? Because we want you to figure it out. We don't want to tell you what to do. Take, for example, the idea of open access. We know about open access music and scholarship. What would an open access urbanism be? This is a thought exercise I did recently in Brussels. Consider a place where streets are safe. Safe for women, safe for everybody. Where the water is safe, where the air is safe. The moment you can imagine that, then you can start to draw it. The moment you start to draw it, you start to change the world. And in that process of drawing and imagining, the world starts to bend and change around you. I always tell people that the one superpower you'll get in a design school is the ability to bend reality. We don't do invisibility, we don't do time travel, all those really exciting ones. Your ability will be to bend reality towards that imagination that you have. So we want you to have a good imagination. And in closing, I would say in a world where we're increasingly seeing risk and fragility and strain, we need to think about designing worlds that are poetic, just, and wise. Thank you.
All right, let me formally introduce our commencement speaker. I mentioned early on that his work is so renowned and many of us have been deeply inspired by it, but it's important for me to briefly reflect on that and to share this with you. In 1986, Mr. Amarnath acquired Neem Rana Fort Palace and began its restoration. The hotel opened in 1991. Mr. Amarnath is a historian by education. From an early age, he has written poetry, has also practiced graphic design and copywriting for several path-breaking advertising campaigns. He has co-written and authored 13 large-format illustrated books on art, history, architecture, corporate biography, and photography, 2 of which have won national awards. His Jaipur book was the first Indian book chosen by Christie's for worldwide distribution. 2 of these books are also used as the official gifts of the President and the Prime Minister of India. Mr. Amarnath, the youngest founder member of INTAC, was also the curator of Art Today, the Contemporary Art Gallery of India. Today, for 7 years, where he had earlier looked after the arts pages of the magazine, actively involved in the restoration of India's lesser-known architectural ruins. He is the co-founder of the Neem Rana non-hotel hotels, which were nominated in 2004 for the Aga Khan Award and have won awards from the UNESCO, the Indian travel trade industry, as well as national awards from the Government of India. The word Neem Ranification has now come to symbolize a viable and sustainable heritage tourism involving the local communities so that their rural pride resurges to win the battle to counter migration to urban slums. Mr. Amarnath is an inveterate traveler and has contributed to several travel magazines after walking 400 kilometers to Mount Kailash in Tibet, to a hidden monastery between Rohtang and Leh, or to the sub-Antarctic in an icebreaker just after the film Titanic was released. Among the many prizes he has received, the latest was the Konna's Lifetime Achievement Award 2017. We have an extraordinary individual amidst us. I want to really express my heartfelt gratitude for accepting our invitation and to be here. Before I formally give the podium to him, I want to quickly take a moment to thank the office of our admissions office and people who were involved in engaging with our students to be able to admit them. Thank you to all of you for contributing to that effort. I also want to thank Monica Bansal, the assistant manager at the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, for her support in this endeavor. Lastly, I want to particularly and singularly thank Professor Jaideep Chatterjee, who is the Vice Dean of Jindal School of Art and Architecture. You will discover him in the next several months and years, but Jaideep has worked tirelessly hard to build the institution from scratch. He also worked towards admitting the first class, but also has been involved in setting up the new facility that will be available for the use of the students of art and architecture in the next few days. I want to express my heartfelt appreciation for your contribution. Thank you so much, Jaideep.
Thank you so much for that rather long introduction. It sounded like an obituary, I thought. Anyway, I'm also grateful to Zai and to Jaideep for thinking of calling me here. It's nice to be with young people. I don't get so much of a chance to be, although the average age in our office would be, I raise it immensely every time I enter the room in any of our offices. So I'm actually going to talk to you about something slightly out of the box, because it's a good moment to think out of the box. Just when people think that you're getting regimented and going to a university, the whole idea is not to put you in a box and to open as many branches that can grow out of a mind and to which there is no limit. I did the word also because people use waste paper to do something and waste something, but architecture is something that people raise to the ground and then want to build anew, because everybody wants to put their own name on whatever they're building. I think that's a problem we have more in India, and there are reasons for that. The reason is that we are a continuously alive civilization. In fact, we are the only continuously alive civilization in the whole world. So there is an overconfidence that we can build whatever has already been built, but we don't actually do that. So people knock down beautiful buildings and raise rather ugly ones, whereas in the West, where the civilization is not continuous, they value the past and they prop it up and feel good about it because say we had this great past. So there's a whole difference. So Nimrana, for those who understand Hindi, is actually Jangal Mein Mangal, because you go out in the wilderness, find a ruin, and you put life into it. It's like waking up dead people in a graveyard. If you had a wand, and if you were walking around in a graveyard and say, up, you wake up, and then you had the whole personality of the person. And because we're waking 14th and 15th century buildings in the 21st century, we wake them also with a new sensibility. So to make you conscious, I don't know how many people I see, mainly Indian students here, but to make you aware of how fantastic our country is this WhatsApp that people share with each other. This is something you can not even say about a continent, which we can say about our subcontinent. So we should be terribly proud that we represent all that, and I see faces from different parts of India, that there is no reason for anybody to impose any superiority north over south, east over west, that everybody brings something to the table which is unique and which, if tasted right, is delicious. So this is the first project that I did. I found not far from here, where Jaideep sir said he's going to take you all. This is near Sona. It's a ruined Haveli I found, which is of the 18th century, and there's one more, which is this one, and I actually restored it to make it livable. So if you look at this, at the picture, which is this one, there was a broken wall at the back, and I let it be because it frames this mountain. This is the Aravalis. The Aravalis are the oldest fold mountains in the whole world. So like the Japanese, look at a rock and admire it for its beauty. A rock is older than all of us put together. 2 billion years is something, The Himalayas are only juvenile mountains, 25 million years old. So why would you not value this extraordinary mountain? So there are two searchlights put on the wall. And in the night or in the evening when you sit there, it's lit up. And inside is very simple furniture, which are two chairs from Shekhawati, on which the girls were given when they got married to, to make butter out of milk. So you sit low and you churn butter out of this. But this appeared many, many years ago in Architectural Digest, where they said the most beautiful houses of the whole world, they usually have very rich people's homes. There was, I think in that issue, Mr. Biki Oberoi of the Oberoi Hotels, there was Rashtrapati Bhavan of the president, and there was this humble little Haveli in a village in Haryana. So it's not the size, and it's not more that makes something. I think the great learning in India is that less is more, and that simplicity is something that needs to be imbibed, taught, and something that we should be very proud of. So this is Diwali, celebrated in one of the Haveli. There are two Havelis there, and this was a double page of that Architectural Digest. It is nothing. It didn't even have electricity actually. It just had candles. So the word restoration is actually rather loosely used. People always say we restore Nimrana. Restoration is much more purist. So in Europe, when you restore, according to the ICROM and to the Convention of Rome, you don't add things to something. You let it be as it is. And if you are going to add something, it's added in different materials. You could chrome, glass, something, so that you know where the old ends and where the new begins, even if you want to reuse it. But in India, I believe that we have the right to set our own standards because we are a continuously alive civilization. So if one minar of the Taj Mahal fell down, let's say, we shouldn't have to build it in chrome and glass. We can build it in lime and mortar, with the pietra dura, with everything, because at this moment we have the work people, the tradition, even the descendants of the Kumavats or the building community or the Prajapats and so on. So it's not obligatory for us that because somebody else says so, that we should do so. I think we have the right to use our own brain and learn from all the other wonderful examples that the world has put forward in modern architecture, in restoring buildings. So I prefer to use the word revitalization because, if you have a modern building and an old building juxtaposed in the right way with the right aesthetics, and you change the end use, so then you have the right to do it. So also what we are talking about is, our Nimrana hotels are called non-hotel hotels. So people keep saying, what happened to that? Right. Yeah, because none of these buildings were built to be hotels. That's why we call them non-hotels. The purpose of a fort is what? The purpose of a fort is to keep people out. If somebody comes near the fort, you shoot guns at them or you fire cannonball at them and you say, get the hell out of here. You're not supposed to come here. And now we are saying, welcome to Rajasthan, enter Nimrana Fort. So we are actually totally reversing the role. So when you reverse the role and, put garlands of roses and say, Padharo Mare Desh and all this, then it's actually the reversal of history, and therefore you have to take different liberties and change the end use of the property. So I'll go chronologically, not necessarily in the order in which the restoration was done. This is it's going very fast, is it? This is a 700-year-old fort called Kesroli. This is near Alwar, and if you see what it looked like, this is how it was. 700 years is a long time. I think that these must have been stables where they kept the horses, because there was just a small part which was a palace where the Raja lived or the Thakur Sahib lived. But wait, I want to show you this, because that is the old part which you see. Why is it jumping on its own. And that swimming pool that you see is a bit that has been added to this. Because, for 8 months in the year it's warm, so you can't say to people, you're going to a 700-year-old fort, and we're going to roast you in the sun and grill you and serve you yourself for dinner or whatever. So, people want to also have leisure and swim, and so it's been added in a way that it is not offensive, not too obtrusive, and even the furniture there is very simple and very, that's a large dari made in a jail. This is a room which is a turret, a round turret, and I've designed the floors as daris. That's not a dari, it's actually inlaid in the tiles of the floor. That's the view from the pool towards the dining space. This is Nimrana, which is a 15th century fort. And you can see what it was. You can see, and this was selling on the market for 40 years, and nobody wanted it. All kinds of fans. Jacqueline Kennedy went to see it, the Maharaja of Jaipur, and Rajiv Gandhi, and so on. Everybody would pass by and say, fantastic, but it needed courage to do it. This is the ruin, and I'm now going to show you the first picture of what it is. So the old part is on this side, and the extensions are, there's a whole conference wing which you see on this side, because it's so close to Delhi that lots and lots of people come there for conferences, which is fantastic for us, because you can't have more than 52 weekends in a year, so the weekdays have to be filled, because we employ 250 people who get good salaries. And now that it's been greened, and because we pump the water, Sai's sister actually has helped us with all the sewage treatment plants. So you can see how green this desert hill full of rocks is. And people come there in large numbers for conferences. The rooms are also done very simply. They're not trying to be Italy, they're not trying to be Europe on the rebound, because the kind of complexes that Maharajas had when they went shopping, they were the Arabs of that time, so they were always getting foreign designers. Here we are looking at ikat from Orissa and beds from Kerala. There's a certain purity and a certain mixture too at random. This is what was the court of Nimrana, where the Raja dispensed justice. So we closed 2 of the doors from which the culprits used to enter, and we made this into a Chandra Mahal, a very nice white, silver and black and white room. This is in the colonial wing, which is built somewhere like 1920s and or 30s, a bit like Connaught Place is in Delhi. So this has been done in a more European style. There are also Art Deco rooms, because that's a whole period through which the Maharajas lived through, and a lot of Art Deco furniture, good Art Deco furniture is available in India. Then there was a need for large halls. So these have been hidden. The hill has been cut up and they've been hidden into it. Here also you see a floor that I've designed because it's very dusty. So if you were to get a 100-foot carpet or a dari, you'd spend a whole day cleaning, vacuum cleaning, and when people would come with dirty feet from outside, you'd say, take off your shoes and so on. For the convenience of people, I think the semblance of a well-done room with carpets, daris is there, but summer is summer and dust is dust. This is the Punjab. This was a government property, which is a terrible ruin infested with white ants, and it's now been made into a fairly nice palace, which is used by lots. You said you go there a lot, yes. And it could be much better, but dealing with governments, as this university must also know, is not always easy, because they say something but they want the opposite. So they spend all their time troubling us, and we are hoping to make. So there are some before and after pictures, just to give you an idea of what this was, how people had ruined this, and what you had to knock down the walls. If you just go back and see how shoddily they've blocked it, and you have to just take out the skeleton, which is so beautiful. That's what it looks like. the roofs are 30 feet high. So once we had a Japanese guest who said, we could have 25 people living in this because, it could be 3 floors and so many rooms. But the whole idea of going to a heritage property is to, the bedrooms look like this, some of the rooms. So that you fight away that cabin and that claustrophobia of the space that you're working in a city, you come back refreshed. This is the most wonderful dining hall with a wooden jharoka at the back from where the Ranis could see what the Maharajas were doing, or how much they were misbehaving, I think, yes? And beat them up in bed later, I suppose. This was the portico where the horse carriages used to come, but since there are no horse carriages and we didn't want cars to come so close to the room, so we blocked it and made a restaurant. And from there, that is on the axis of the company Bagh. So you see a 75-acre garden. It's very simple, but very refreshing. These were tiles which had been imported from England, and a lot of them had broken. So we got replicas or close semblance or whatever we could get. And this is the bar, which is at the end of a veranda. Now, if anybody saw the building on top, I wonder if they would have the courage to get it and to work on it. So the easiest solution is to break it and to make a modern building. So, but it isn't always that easy. When we actually started the restoration, the government of Tamil Nadu and all the babus whose job is to make sure there's no progress, arrived and said, how dare you build a building so close to the sea, because now we have that zone of 500 meters or whatever. So we had to tell them and show them pictures that it's been around for 400 years, that they had actually missed seeing it. And then we were allowed to continue our work, which was stopped for 2 years. We can laugh at it now, but at the moment we are going through it. So there's a Pandya temple, which you can see at the back. And on the other side, there's a Danish fort. This is the view from the drone. It's very close to the sea. It's called Bungalow on the beach and has a lovely swimming pool. So the day this got ready, the tsunami happened and the sea went through the whole building, and actually nothing happened to the building. It stayed exactly as it was, except that the water sources became saline and we had to empty them and refresh them. You can see that the decor is very simple. It is a Danish building, so there is a touch of Danish blue and simplicity. So you feel that you're in that kind of place. This is this is in central India, in Madhya Pradesh. Here, a new wing had to be added because there were not enough rooms. So what you are now looking at is the new building. Sorry. Yeah, that's how it is. And the new runs into the old and you can't really tell. This is an amazing building which has water all around it. So in summer, the Ranis could go down and sit in the cold. This is up in the mountains. So we took different bungalows that appeared on the market at different times and restored them. That is Ramgarh in the snow, Ramgarh in good weather. These are English bungalows made of fantastic thick tin, which is still there, and so on. This is in Kunur. So the idea was actually, to show you that when you look at something which looks like a challenge, accept it. Don't shy away from it, because somebody has to do it. And if you think nobody has to do it, you can still do it. So it's a joke to see that this restoration of the last project we did, Tijara, which is this building, in 2 years of its opening, it became the best resort of India, which is also something to perceive, because a half ruin, half garden, half fort is always more romantic than a completely new, clean building. So if you look at this, you wouldn't imagine that this would be a garden like this. But we have so many advantages in India, advantages of being in the 21st century and in the 16th century at the same time. We have the advantages of labor, of skill, of ingenuity. We have also the advantage of a lack of rules, because if you were to do something like this in the European countries, you'd need, yeah, so this is actually a fun picture. If you look at this and look at the niche at the back, the next picture is the same place. So it needs some imagination and lots of courage. This is a room made completely out of waste. So all the chipped plates of the hotel or the palace were put on the ceiling and mangoes painted on it as a mango room. This is what it now looks. And here, this was a ruin that when the government put it to bid, not one hotelier bid for it because it's total lack of imagination. It's not about. So that's all. If there's any questions, I'd love to answer them. And I'd be most delighted if any of the students want to send me a mail. I do, when I speak to students, occasionally receive very interesting mails asking all kinds of questions, which sometimes people feel shy to ask their teachers. Yes. Thank you so much.
One of the things which I think we learned from this experience is that typically businesses are seen to be finding difficulty in connecting with issues surrounding restoration and sustainability. But what Samnath has proved to the world at large is that you can actually create an extraordinary sort of private sector resort in that sector while redrawing our past and connecting with our history and civilization heritage. So I want to really congratulate you, but also thank you for your contribution to nation building. And I know the extraordinary challenges that you might have faced in even proceeding with this project. So once again, thank you so much. All right, the floor is open, and we'll be happy to take questions.
First question is always difficult.
The restoration process, I'm sure how hard was it to fit in your own aesthetic into the building, or still keeping in mind what the aesthetic of the building was when, say 17th or 16th century?
So I didn't have too much time to elaborate, but the idea is not to impose your aesthetic on a building. If you see a certain building from the outside, you're restoring it, at least from the outside, it should look like it was of that period. So there were no gardens, because there was no way to pump water out. This year, Nirvana is 555 years old. So you can imagine how medieval, rustic, and basic the life would have been in that. Because donkeys used to bring water on a pitcher. So, but once you're inside the building, for example, if this was inside Nirvana, it could also be if you must have it. But our conference halls, they don't look like this. They are conference rooms. They are still done with a mixture of the past and the present. I think one of the problems with our architects today is that they have a style. I won't name them, but so whatever they do, they impose their style on it. But as you read, I was presenting a book recently by Dominique Perrault, who did the most extraordinary underground architecture. And I forgot to bring you pictures, but that's why I think you should take them. 20 years ago, I had the idea to make an underground building, and which is so crazy that when people see it, nobody believes that I built it. They keep saying, "Oh, this was here, you excavated it." So, because of the scale, because of the material, because of everything. So I think aesthetics is good in the interior spaces of such buildings, but not to the outside.
So, when you're talking about not imposing, right, with our own style, so it just reminded me also when you were doing presentation, I have done my architecture from Baroda. So, when I was studying there, I used to go, I went from Delhi to Baroda. So, the old airport of Baroda is the first
your psyche is also colonized. So I would have thought that in our generation we got through with that, but I'm seeing all over again a resurgence of that with young people, you know. They always, with enlightened, or not enlightened, I should say, with rich clients, you know, they're happier to get an architect from Singapore to do their house because an Indian architect is only an Indian, you know. So even today, I opened the paper, I couldn't believe the Hindustan Times on the first page is an ad. Shah Rukh Khan saying, white fairness cream for men. I said, hello, you know, I mean, wake up, when are we going to change, you know? Today's paper, I mean, and, you know, I'm sure he's going to get a lot of flack for it, you know. He's saying when men grow older, their skin gets hard, so you have to now put cream and then you'll be fair and wonderful. Some stupid thing like that.
Yeah, and like just adding to this, so another thing is that, I mean, this is a question, two questions actually. I have been to Nimrana Hotels, so there is a step well behind the food. I think that is an ASI protected.
No, it's not. It was restored by us, and it has again been completely ruined by the kids going to the village, there is no consciousness.
Yeah, because when I went there, it was, I think, Nimrana didn't yet start.
No, we had to wait to was that.
Maybe 2014, I think.
No, we had done it and it was broken back by the people.
And what about the village around? I mean, how has the fort, the restoration of the fort and the starting of the hotel has
Well,
been
we employed 250 people, you know, so all the people who started working for us now have better houses and so on. So, but India is India, you know, you can't get anybody to be disciplined. I would like the village people to deal in a certain way, you know. But people who are really there wanted to look like the Jindal University, you know, so they're using class and grow, which is okay for a modern institution of learning, but if you have a heritage village, there should be some norm how to do it. And back to Baroda for a while, I'm sure if everybody sitting in this room was to put their brain together, or a few people, they would have done a better job. You could have used that old airport just at the point of arrival, said everybody, so they
That is
walk.
what it was. That is what it used to be.
I mean, you give it what you want.
I want to know what is the most memorable restoration you have done?
Can you speak a little louder?
What is the most memorable restoration that I've done?
And what are the difficulties or hurdles you had to go through and do it?
There are several volumes to be written on the difficulties, so we shouldn't talk about that. And the most memorable, you know, if you ask a parent, you've got 8 children, which one do you like the most? It's that kind of question, you know. I think when a mother is raising or breastfeeding a baby, at that moment the whole world is that baby, you know. And so when I'm working on a project, only that exists, and those which have been done are done. They're not less nice or more nice, you know.
Any projects you're working on right now?
Well, actually, both Nimrana and Tijara are ongoing, and the stepwell, to which we must go. Everything is ongoing because, you know, building should never finish. I hope the university also is ongoing. And he said, Vishwa hai asi ka, nahi sankalp ka hai. The world is of the sword, not just about thinking. Har pralay ka kon kaya kalpa hai. So, you know, there is one kind of person, let's say the government, okay? They go for meetings and seminars and meetings and papers and files, and they go on and on. But then they say, oh, and then after 10 years or 20 years and 50 years, the same thing is being said again and again. So they forget to act. So when I say Vishwa hai asika, means get on with it. Just do it, you know. And the rest will follow. So the difficulties will come, but every difficulty actually becomes a challenge. And when you surmount it, you are stronger. I think that's actually. And they're not vacant and they're not available. So you've got 20 families staying in it, so each one says, make me one apartment. So you have to make 20 apartments for people, and that's a non-starter. Yeah. The mint in Calcutta was fantastic, you know, and somebody said they were very keen on doing it, but one Saturday somebody bought it They knocked it down in 2 days, you know, they're gone. And
Its own character. And
Mhm.
every building has its own character and speciality. So how hard it was to understand its speciality and character and restore it with the same, in the same character of like.
okay. Well, I noticed that all your questions are about problems, but I've never seen life like that, you know. I mean, when you walk into, let's say anybody, let's say one young lady here, okay? If you have to dress her up, suppose she's not very slim, okay? Then you're not going to put her in hot pants. Okay? So you look at a building, you see this is the beauty of the building. Some pillars are broken, something is there, and you use your common sense. Also, because I'm not an architect and I'm not schooled, perhaps to think along the dotted line. And nowadays they're not training you to think like that. But when I was a child, education was very much more formal, and you have to answer. You have to say A for apple. You couldn't say A for alphabet. But when we used to send telegrams, you know, you have to say, because there were telegrams those days, and you have to spell every word, and you have to say A for this and B for that. And even then, when I was a kid, I should say P for prostitute. So the girls at the other end would get horrified, because you were always supposed to say, you know, A for this and B for that. So I think if you think out of the box, there's no problem. Why would you go to Baroda and do a building and say, I'm going to put Kerala pillars there or something? You know, your common sense will tell you, and even less than common sense, what is right and what is wrong. I think so. Don't you very good, so
Yes.
to make something dead alive, I think it's wonderful. It's you know, if you ask a doctor how do you feel after the operation, it's the same thing, you know. It's waste actually, the subject we forgot to talk about. But if you are given waste and you can turn waste into value, then it's fantastic. Because we're a poor country, so you know we can't afford to make everything again and again and again. Yes, actually, did everybody ask that question?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw suddenly saw 2-3 hands at the back.
Since we are using modern technologies for restoring these buildings, so do you use some vintage ways of restoring also to use to maintain that vintage look?
No, it's not just a look. So we've done restoration in lime and mortar, which is true now. You know, so we have the camel do all that. But when you are making a swimming pool, for example, if you make a swimming pool out of lime and mortar and have chlorine in it and so on, it won't work. So we're not purists, because what we are doing is restoration and revitalization of unlisted buildings. They don't even seem to have been wiped out. Nobody would have cried for it. So this is utter waste. So if you are doing the Taj Mahal, for example, it has to be done exactly as it was built. In our case, we can take liberties.
Question that when you look at all these drawings and all that, so we can say that in a certain way these are constraints and these are certain way, so you have certain limitations to work on it. So do they in some way it's like a thing of yours, so you know, okay, I have these constraints and you work on it, so it's like a design problem for you and you work on it. So
It's a brief.
It's a brief for you. So is that more what do you say? Do you prefer that kind of work over, you know, something ground up?
I'm going to tell you a quotation. I hope you remember it all your life. There's a very brilliant quotation which says, destiny has 2 ways to ruin you. Either by denying you what you want or by giving it to you. So if you get into a field of no challenges, then you're just going to be a spoiled brat. You know, if you said to your parents, I want that sports car, and you got it, and I want that. So I think it's very good to have challenges, because then, you know, the axis of a building, suppose something is very crooked, something is done wrong, you use your mind, your contemporary sensibility, your contemporary mind to work around it, not to ruin it. You have to honor it. And I don't know what is that analogy. I was going to say it's like trying to make your grandmother into a bride, but it's not actually. It's your grandmother has to be honored as a grandmother, and if your bride arrives, she sits by the side, the two should be harmonious together. I don't think one is out of sync with the other.
I was just going through your Purnod design, and I was wondering, there's a lot of British and Latin places like Ooty, which are hill stations. So, do you try and use traditional methods of the place, or do you just build on the design already existing?
We know it's true, nice, pathar, all that, but the buildings, for example, if they were built by, no, so we've actually done more restoration of foreign buildings than anybody else would have done. So we've done British, French, Portuguese, Danish, Dutch, Irish. So, nobody's interested in all this. It's so wonderful architecture and scattered all over, but it's more difficult because we didn't have domestic architecture. There was the king and there was the god, so their temples and their palaces and forts. But the domestic architecture, like you have in this valley with houses of common people, they were made of mud. So they all disappeared. So it's easier to restore colonial architecture and make it into a place to live and so on. So I don't know what was your question.
It was basically that are the factors that you look in a food to restore it.
Okay, that's a good question. Not a fort, but of any place. I say to myself, when I reach a place, and I say, wow, it doesn't matter if it's ruined or not, People say to me, oh, you put so much money into me, imagine if it was not a success. I think it's an utterly stupid question. Because it's a fantastic ruin on a hill, on a plateau, and right there where there's nothing, the sun is setting, you say, wow. So tomorrow if you restore it, you're eating homemade strawberry ice cream sitting in the same place, it can only be wow, wow, It can't be, the sixth sense is I'm actually a very sensible person, so the sixth sense is very important. I think that's the most important sense. That one which combines all the others and tells you what to do, how to do. Magic, I think. Yeah, please have magic and then you can.
Our commencement speaker, Mr. Amarnath, and my colleagues in JGU, dear students, I want to welcome all the 2019 batch School of Art and Architecture students, and also the students who are returning back after the summer break. If you look at the state of monuments in India, many of them are in a state of disuse or neglect. And as students of art and architecture, you need to know a monument which is right in our backyard. When we were planning a student housing construction right behind the campus, SH2, we ran into a difficulty because it was within 100 meters of a protected monument. And the process of approvals from the National Monument Authority was taking time. And there was one person in our construction team who said, so there was a Kos Minar, there's a milestone in the Mughal time, which is about some 6 to 8 feet. And he said, look, just wait for a few months, anyway, villages are chipping away and soon it will disappear. Luckily, we got the approval and then we started construction. But why I'm telling you that you need to know there is a monument right behind our university, which is a protected. And in that context, what Mr. Amarnath has done is, extraordinary from national dustbin to national exchequer. It's an extraordinary saga, and and what he said during the course of his lecture, that when you see a challenge, you just accept it and take it, and it will permanently remain in my memory. Sir, you have really inspired through your work, and we have seen the pictures before and after, and what you have done is truly a path-breaking work. And I request all the students to give a big round of applause to our for his inspiring story. And in fact, I want to. I've been informed that there are students who got into some reputed public institutions which have been there for, let's say, for several decades. And I'm really impressed that the School of Art and Architecture is in the second year of its existence, and so people have shifted from well-established institution. We thought this would occur, let's say, 5 years or 10 years, but I'm pleasantly surprised that right in the second year, that people have chosen JSAA over well-established, reputed public institutions in Delhi. I do not want to take names, and I compliment the dean, vice dean, and then all the faculty members. And we want to see the school entering subject-wise rankings. We want all the students, faculty excel and carve out a great name for the school in the course of coming years. And for the students, I just want to mention, like you have chosen a particular course. While you are at it, please understand the academic policies, particularly those relating to attendance, those relating to the scholarship, the terms and conditions, those relating to student code of conduct, and also perform, excel, and I wish you good luck. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Many years ago, when I was still in Vienna, I had this dream of going to India, and I contacted the World Monuments Fund, which is one of the most prestigious international heritage organizations, and I asked, so I'd like to really go to India, whom could I speak to who is in this field of heritage and historic preservation? And they just gave me one name, which was Amarnath. And I was thinking, you know, India is a huge country, how can they give me one name? What is so special about this person? And then later, when I actually was about to move to India, this was the person I contacted. Although he organized a very expensive taxi for me, I learned to understand, and I saw immediately what was so special about this person. He showed me some of these historic buildings, and you know, you've seen the pictures before and after, but you know, you can't be mistaken. These are huge and massive projects. And you know, often in conservation, you find people who do one thing. Maybe they do only the research or only the conservation aspect, but this is not what Amarnath is doing. To me, he's really like a Renaissance person. He does so many things, he has an appreciation of so many things, and he has a vision that I had not seen before. Not only of, you know, love for the historic buildings and mainly preserving them, but he uses them, as we could see, as an inspiration for the design. And I also noticed it's not this kind of egotistical ego approach that you often have with artists, whether it's, you know, musicians, composers, or architects, but he has the humility to take a step back and let the architecture speak and take that as a starting point for new work. So this is clearly not only about the preservation or the restoration of historic buildings, but it's really a whole vision that goes further, you know, to have this, you know, these other buildings and the continuation of the buildings that I saw. And I think that is really extraordinary. And you know, I've traveled the world, I've seen so many examples, but I have not seen any examples like that. So I really please, again, give a round of applause. That is, you know, extraordinary. And attached with this all is, you know, the whole complexity of historic buildings, namely the people that are in the vicinity, finding livelihoods for people in the area. All of this, you know, is done with these projects. And again, I'm really, really grateful for showing this and sharing this to students, because very often students haven't seen that, haven't experienced that, and I think the best you know, is really to go out and visit these places rather than only read and hear about it, because even a photograph doesn't do justice, but you really have to sense this. I mean, you know, smell it, you know, feel it, and you know, get a sense, because even if you close your eyes, you know, there's a famous architect, Oskar Strinat, from the early 20th century in Vienna. He said, even if you close your eyes, you can sense the space, you can sense the architecture, and I think you can really only experience that. And please go to Nimrana, is very close. I'm organizing a few heritage trips and excursions this semester, so I hope you'll have the chance to go and visit some of these places in Rajasthan. So thank you very, very much. I think you are an inspiration for everyone, and the obstacles you overcame, I mean, really, we can only guess, because even doing a small step, you know, a small project has, you know, huge problems. So this is amazing to see this, you know, steadfastness and this perseverance in all of this, and the vision that you go after, and at the same time giving this also to the community. And this is truly, truly wonderful. Thank you very much.